Chapter 5. Stakeout. The fire Rosa had built burned long into the evening while she and Ramsey pieced together what they could. The papers taken from the lab at the orphanage were invaluable. There were logs kept by Mr. Thetrucky's mother, which included dates from when Mr. Pryor visited. The notes within them unearthed a treasure trove of information, and Ramsey's analytical mind closely studied the clues. Rosa intuitively delved into personal networks focusing on the human elements. Their inquiring minds made connections between them, and the story of the people involved began to unfold. There were vast sums of money funding both the lab and the orphanage. As a result, the work increasingly became coded and much more difficult for the pair to decipher. Her mind was so alarmed by what she was reading in the papers that she closed the lab journal kept by Mr. Thetrucky's mother, Mary Thetrucky. Rosa sat back, almost wanting to distance herself from the information. She'd read about the joy when the trio had created the invisibility suit, and how it had remained inside the lab. She also read of Mary's sorrow and detachments from her son. Rosa's empathy was so powerful she could feel the sadness within the pages. There were dates on Mr. Pryor's visits and Mary's disdain for the man. She referred to him as an ignoramus and mocked his lack of ability to comprehend their work. She also referenced him as a petulant child, wanting incredible things that the three scientists wondered if they could ever deliver. Then there were the dates of the breakthroughs, moving inanimate objects through time. They longed to publish their findings to the scientific world. On the 25th of May, there was an entry filled with the dawning realization that Mr. Pryor would never let them leave. Rosa turned the page and saw that Mr. Thetrucky's parents had formulated a plan to take their son from the orphanage and get as far away as possible. And then curiously and abruptly, the journal ended. Ramsey was convinced that the orphanage was used partly as a facade for whatever they were working on in the lab, and his concern and desire for Rosa still burned intensely. Rosa, did Mr. Thetrucky hurt you while you were in the lab? I feel as though he is the reason you're wrapped up in this mess, Ramsey inquired.
No, he didn't, but he's a desperate man in a lot of pain, a tortured soul from his childhood experiences. I am very concerned,
Rosa replied. Ramsey shook his head out of pity. He could see by Rosa's body language that she was struggling emotionally. Mao, the cat, gently jumped onto Rosa's lap and nudged her gently, as if offering encouragement for her to continue.
Oh, Ramsey, there is more. You see, something awful. I'm experiencing a recurring vision. In it, the whole of humanity is threatened. Initially, it was a sense of foreboding, a possible warning. Still, the momentum grew, and there are two alarming aspects.
Rosa looked directly at Ramsey and continued.
Mr. Thetrucky's parents are currently in a parallel universe with no possible way of being able to return.
Rosa waited for Ramsey to contemplate her first dilemma before hitting him with the real catastrophe.
Oh, Ramsey.
Rosa had tears in her eyes, now totally overwhelmed by what she was about to say. What is it, Rosa? Ramsey searched her eyes. You can tell me. Rosa took a deep breath and then began to share her darkest fear.
My visions serve as a guide, but lately I have seen a chilling, recurring sight that tells of a catastrophe for humanity. Dr. Strostik is going to create something supernatural that, once completed, nobody, not even he, can control. Mr. Pryor is involved, and also, somehow, Mr. Thetrucky. My fear of the unknown offers no leverage for you, but know this, Ramsey. You are there too. It's a suspicion, a horrid feeling without explanation. Between these men lies the capability to change everyone's lives. With Mr. Pryor's greed and personal gain providing the means and resources, enabling Dr. Strostik to experiment beyond what is ethical.
Ramsey interjected. Rosa, there's always an answer, no matter how hopeless things seem. We just need to find it. We need some good old-fashioned detective work, and I'm your guy. With that, he left the ivy. Despite the brave face, Ramsey felt shocked to his core. Previously, there were no suggestion that he would have a central role in the investigation. It was going to be extremely difficult to remain impartial. The more he went back and forth, the more fearful he became. Ramsey had no family or trusted friends that he could rely on. He managed his affairs single-handedly, and now anxiety had brought into sharp focus possibilities involving himself. Could it be true that Dr. Strostik had created a suit that made a man disappear completely? This is something Ramsey would have imagined while reading a childhood comic. Then there were Mr. Dothraki's parents, supposedly languishing in another universe. Ramsey thought the whole affair was a mess, and because of this, he dreaded his first day of the investigation. It was a cold, crisp autumn morning. Ramsey stood on the pavement adjacent to the skyscraper known as Pryor Towers. He pulled up his overcoat collar, offering limited protection from the cold winds, and stuffed his hands deep in his pockets. Ramsey looked upwards and had to tilt his head backward, leaning slightly, enabling himself to take in the whole view. "Geez," he exclaimed. The superstructure was breathtaking. Pryor Towers stood perfectly true to its design. The steel construction was the backbone of its structural integrity, tinted glass offering it a natural elegance. It's a sustainable green building, utilizing passive heating and cooling methods. The top is tapered in shape, reminiscent of tall historical buildings. Incredibly, the building didn't exist 12 months ago, and the speed of the construction bore testament to Mr. Pryor's immense wealth. Ramsey had become highly knowledgeable about Pryor Towers from the information that Mr. Pryor had drip-fed the press. Looking at the luxury of the building before him, Ramsey was fully aware of Mr. Pryor's charmed life. Coming from an impoverished childhood, he had become incredibly lucky. Ramsey took a stroll around the building, evaluating possible exits and entrances, noticing the people making their way in and out. A keen eye can identify much from a simple walk around a place, and Ramsey was a master of noticing the small details. Then, after a full lap around, he returned to the car and settled into his day's work. For Ramsey Larson, the stakeout was a crucial part of the detective work, and it often gave up surprising rewards. As of now, he still needed to be successful at setting eyes on Dr. Strostik, but in truth, being on a stakeout lent itself to Ramsey's personality type, as he often felt he experienced the world from the outside looking in. Ramsey had come prepared to wait it out. On the dashboard of his rental car was a set of binoculars with ultra magnification. His trusty journal was on the passenger seat beside him, along with a flask of coffee and his sandwiches. It felt good to be proactive, as he was sure he'd left Rosa at the Ivy feeling more than a little overwhelmed. He had taken up a great position with a view of the entrance of Pryor Towers, allowing him to stare through the binoculars at busy people, unaware they were being watched. He quickly switched the binoculars from one direction to another, searching for the man he was investigating. He searched countless employees. Then, "Bingo! I see you, Dr. Strostik," Ramsey exclaimed. The binoculars gave a perfectly detailed view. The doctor was identifiable by the ID badge pinned to his pristine white lab coat. His costly watch glinted in the autumn light. A workout rucksack was slung over one shoulder as he momentarily touched the dark shades. Unlike his co-workers, he appeared in no hurry, yet walked purposefully, listening to his wireless earphones. A good-looking guy, Dr. Strostik without the lab coat was not your average-looking science guy. He was fit and could easily pass for a personal trainer. Ramsey couldn't help but be disappointed. He imagined Dr. Strostik would have a lot less physical prowess. He watched as Dr. Strostik took the marble steps, 2 at a time, and the doorman showed his approval. Dr. Strostik's face lit up as they swapped pleasantries and laughed. He appeared to mimic his golf swing, which the doorman found hilarious. Following this, he entered the building. Ramsey placed the binoculars into his lap and picked up the sandwich box. He looked at the cheese and pickle sandwich and thought it looked rather sad. "Right. That's it. I'm going for takeout," Ramsey muttered. Ramsey drove away to get a decent meal, intending to return under the cover of darkness. Upon returning, Ramsey had to approach the area with his lights off to stay undetected. He found an unassuming side street opposite Pryor Towers and sat there poised with his binoculars, checking out the last few cars driving by as late night descended. Ramsey knew good sleuths did proper stakeouts, which meant binoculars, a camera, and darkness. His patience was legendary, and he knew that things got interesting in the early hours. He had a hunch that the daily business of Prior Towers was a front for the actual work going on overnight. Nevertheless, Ramsey needed actual results, and a stakeout could provide them. Maybe it was the meal he had earlier in the day, or he was just dog-tired, but he found himself drifting. He dropped the binoculars, and this woke him up with a start. Still, there was no sign of life at Prior Towers. All the main lights had been off for some time, and the streets were deserted. An urban fox broke the still of the night and ransacked a trash can, leaving the area only when it had found food. Ramsey looked up and saw nothing but a room lit up where the janitor was cleaning. This stakeout may be a waste of time. He could be asleep in bed right now, dreaming of sandy beaches and drinking tequilas. Then, there it was, the first chink of movement. Ramsey looked through the binoculars and spotted a black van driving very slowly up to Prior Towers without lights. The windows were blacked out, and the wheels seemed very expensive. The van stopped next to two double doors, which Ramsey assumed was the loading bay for the building. Two men got out dressed in black, and Ramsey noticed black gloves too. With the poor street lighting, Ramsey thought that these guys really did not want to be seen. They unloaded large crates which appeared heavy and were stamped with the Prior Biogenetics logo. Ramsey realized there were still no lights on the building, and this was his chance to get some first-hand information. Ramsey jumped out of the car and jumped closer to the delivery van. He deliberately affected a limp, as this distracts people and puts them at ease when you are asking searching questions. Ramsey hobbled toward the man. "Anyone got a light for a smoke?" Both of the delivery men stared at Ramsey with very shifty eyes. "Yeah, man. There you go," one of the men growled with a voice not used to niceties. So Ramsey put his cigarette in his mouth and leaned forward toward the lighter the taller delivery man held. "Thanks, man," said Ramsey. "You guys are working late. What are you delivering?" "Who's asking?" the man with the lighter said. "Oh, sorry. I didn't want to intrude, guys. I walk past here every night after work, and I've never seen a delivery from an unmarked van. It's okay. It's not my business. Thanks for the light, though," Ramsey replied apologetically. He was playing with them, and it worked. "It's just lab stuff for the boss," the other delivery man mumbled. Both men looked at each other and realized they had said too much. "You gotta go, man." "Yeah, again. Thanks for the light," Ramsey replied, walking off. Then, as he walked away, he heard the sound of a walkie-talkie fire up. "Dr. Strostik, come in," the delivery man asked. Ramsey could just make out the reply. "About time." "Where have you been, idiots?" Dr. Strostik complained. Ramsey made his way toward his car and sat waiting in the shadows. He saw both delivery men waiting at the double doors through the binoculars. Light appeared under the doors, defined by the darkness around them. Ramsey's breath quickened as he realized this could be what he was waiting for. The doors opened, and a man stepped out. It was Dr. Strostik, and Ramsey had his result. A delivery to Dr. Strostik in an unmarked van for a lab was more than Ramsey hoped for. Rosa will be stoked, he thought. He took photos with his camera and watched while the deliveries took place. Dr. Strostik was clearly unhappy with the delivery men, and he'd be even more unhappy if he knew what information they had let slip to a private detective, Ramsey thought. "Are the deliveries secure?" said Dr. Strostik. "Yes, sir," one of the men replied. "We have to move it now and get inside. The clock's ticking," Dr. Strostik quickly replied. His excitement and patience were palpable. Ramsey watched as the men struggled with heavy packages and locked crates. He would do anything to know the contents, but his imagination would have to fill in the blanks for now. With Dr. Strostik's guidance, the packages were stacked onto a loading trolley and taken inside Prior Towers. It was clear to Ramsey that the deliveries were important, perhaps a pivotal piece to this mystery he found himself in, or maybe something incriminating. Either way, it was indeed something he wanted to know more about. The last delivery finished, and the now exhausted men jumped back into their van and drove away, leaving Dr. Strostick standing outside alone, seemingly collecting his thoughts. Ramsey was sure that would be the end of the stakeout. He was wrong. A very classy car rolled up with its headlights blazing. This was someone who was used to being seen. Ramsey observed with his binoculars. The driver got out of his car wearing a chauffeur's uniform. He went to the vehicle's back door, and in a true chauffeur style, opened the door and stood to attention, while a man wearing a smart suit exited the car. Ramsey recognized him from his research as Mr. Pryor, the owner of Pryor Towers. He swallowed hard, as this was almost too good to be true, and then watched as Mr. Pryor shook the hand of Dr. Strostick. They seemed even more enthusiastic than before, no doubt relieved that the deliveries had arrived and their plans were in motion. The pair engaged in some brief conversation, followed by a circling hand gesture given to the driver by Mr. Pryor. The driver set off as the duo entered the building together, leaving no evidence that Mr. Pryor had ever entered the tower at this time. It had been around 15 minutes since the pair had entered the building, and Ramsey was beginning to wind down his expectations. So what was in the package, and why was it necessary to be handled in the dead of night? 100 unanswerable questions flooded his mind. Whatever was going on up there gave Ramsey a chill down his spine. He was just about ready to wrap up his stakeout when he noticed a message had been left. Written in the condensation on his window, it read, "I'm watching too." His stomach turned, and he instinctively locked the car doors and scanned the area in all directions. The cold, dark night offered no explanations. Ramsey knew to be careful, but now he must be vigilant too. Someone else was looking for answers, and they were on to him. Then the penny dropped. "Damn you, the Thraki," Ramsey blurted out. From everything he had heard, Mr. Thraki wasn't someone he wanted to confront alone. His best bet was to take the evidence he had gathered and reconvene with Rosa. He switched on the headlights, took one last look, and drove away into the early morning darkness.